This is the Paperclipping Roundtable, the scrapbooking audio show that's designed to inspire, educate, and entertain you.
You're listening to episode 218, recorded August 19th, 2014, Paper Chains.
The Paperclipping Roundtable is brought to you by BigPictureClasses.com. Get 10% off any class with a coupon code you'll find at paperclipping.com/bigpicture.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Paperclipping Roundtable. I'm your host, Noell Hyman from paperclipping.com, where we have scrapbooking video tutorials in addition to this show. And we've got here, he's in the same room with me, Izzy from izzyvideo.com. Hey, Izzy.
Hello. I'm also the producer and your husband.
Yes, you are. I was going to say it. I was going to say it next. I know sometimes I switch it around.
Yeah, that's all right. I said it so you don't have to. Just trying to make things easy for you.
We have two people on the show. Both of our guests on the show are brand new, never been on. We don't do that very often, where we have an entire panel of people who are on for the first time. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good. So
no pressure.
No. All right, let's introduce both of our guests. The first of them is Wendy Morris. Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Noelle and Izzy.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Wendy, you might also be the only guest I've ever had from Alabama.
Well, gee, thanks. Hey, I take that as an honor and a privilege, actually.
You're representing Alabama.
Absolutely, absolutely. We don't all come with iced tea and, peach cobbler and all of that.
Oh, that sounds great.
That sounds
I'll
really
take
good.
Iced tea and peach cobbler.
It's actually, my mom can throw down on both of those things, so it's actually not a bad thing. But yes, I am from Alabama.
Awesome. And Wendy is on the design teams for Prima and for Pink Paisley and Paper House, so very talented,
Yes.
I must say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I'm actually a bi-monthly freelance designer for Paper House, so I was on their design team last term, but just kind of doing a bi-monthly thing with them now since my workload's quite full with Pink Paisley and Prima.
So technically not on the design team, but you work with them.
Correct. You'll see projects from me on their blog like every 2 months or so as a contracted designer.
How long have you been designing with Prima or on their creative team?
I just made the creative team, actually. So their last call that they had, I was one of the very lucky ones to be selected and honored. So I'd say now for a couple of months, we started out with the CHA workload, and that kept us pretty busy. And so I'd say since the end part of June, July, now I've been on the team. So it's still pretty fresh and new.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Yeah, exciting.
Thank you.
We love the Prima booth at CHA. It's gorgeous.
Actually, yes, and actually, Izzy, they've changed it a little bit. They have about 2 shows that they did this summer, so they kind of split it up. So they've kind of warned us that the January show will be bigger. So the booth wasn't too big, I don't think, at the CHA show this past time, but more will come.
We never go in the summer. Well, we did once in the summer, quite a few years ago, but I know in January it's always a really nice big booth, a beautiful, gorgeous booth. We have to do multiple videos in that booth.
I was just going to say that. Normally for every other booth we do one video, but for Prima we do like 3 or 4 different videos just because there's so much to show, I guess.
Yes.
Who else is on the show today, Noelle?
All right. So on the show, the other guest on the show, I actually chose her because I was looking through the gallery and she had just put a layout up in our paperclipping gallery and it had got my attention and I really liked it. And I was like, so I checked out her blog. And Jamie, I've been aware of you for a while actually, but I actually went and checked out your blog and I looked through a lot of it and I was having so much fun. And so I wanted to get you on too. This is Jamie, and I hope I'm saying your last name right, Leha.
Kudos to you for getting it right.
Yes. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I should actually quickly say that I'm dating the guy I'm currently dating because he could pronounce my name correctly. So, or at least one of the reasons why. So,
yeah, hopefully that's just one of many reasons why.
Exactly. No, I'm so excited to be on and excited that you found me. And yeah, I've been a long time paperclipping listener, first time speaker. So excited to be here.
And you're also on the creative team for Scrapbook Circle.
Yes, the Scrapbook Circle Kit Club.
All right. So, Jamie, it might have sounded like I only just like went, oh, who's this girl? But I've actually, I know you as Jay Leha because you're always signing your name that way. And I feel like it's been years since I've seen you on like online commenting at Paperclipping. Did we also used to interact at 2Ps?
We didn't interact at 2Ps. You're probably remembering me from Crop Circle.
The crop circle way back. Remember that?
We used to have a crop circle for paper
Yeah,
as part of paper
that was
clipping.
the
That was our
original forum
attempt at a community. Yeah, it was. We were never. Izzy and I were never really happy with that situation. I mean the setup, the service, but okay.
I was part of that community.
So you've been with us a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I think I've even been featured on the Paperclipping blog a couple times too.
Okay.
So thanks for that, guys.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm much more. I couldn't put my finger on what, but I know your name well enough, and I have this sense of like how I associate you that I feel like it's been a lot longer than just recently. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right. Well, cool. I'm glad that you're on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we do the mail, Izzy?
Are you asking me if we should?
Yeah. Before we do, Izzy and I both thought maybe we should apologize to the audience because we had a fabulous panel last week. It was a really good panel. It was a super fun show. I got off thinking, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. What a great episode. But then we think the topic choice, maybe we failed you in the topic choice because the feedback was just like very minimal. That's the problem.
We got hardly any comments, and some of the comments that we did get were like, okay, not a great topic.
Fashion is not something I care about.
Yeah, so
it wasn't a lot of that. It was mostly of the very few comments that we got.
We're just assuming that people are like, if I don't have something nice to say, I shouldn't say anything at all. That's why we didn't hear from people so much. So we apologize that we missed the mark a little bit on last week's show. But that's the great thing about recording 218 episodes. This is the 218th one we're recording right now, is that there's going to be a lot of signal versus noise. There's going to be a few episodes in there that just aren't awesome for you.
The episode was awesome. It's just maybe the topic.
Panelists were great.
Yeah.
The conversation was
may
fun.
Not be desired by a huge percentage.
Yeah.
And we typically take it by if we don't hardly get any comments, which almost never happens, then that's probably something went wrong. But we did get this comment because I think that the way that the topic is listed on the show notes
is
not quite representative of how it goes down in the show.
It's hard to really represent what goes down in the show in a half a sentence, I guess. So my bad.
So this was somebody who was like, not my interest, not my topic, interest. But you want to read it?
This is from Alyssa W, who says, so at first I was like, meh, when I saw the topic in the first part of the conversation. However, as I thought about it over the few days of listening, I really enjoyed this topic.
Yay. So if you didn't listen to it because of the topic, maybe you should give it a try. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
All right.
I like the fresh way. I like the fresh way PRT and Noel make me think about scrapbooking. So here's my fashion scrapbooking parallel. I go through phases in my wardrobe where I try to get it all together and be more fashionable, reading fashion blogs, pinning outfit ideas, and spending time putting my clothes together. I do the same thing in scrapbooking. There are times when I try to embellish more, create clusters like Chamel, and try out the latest product trend. And then eventually I go back to my monochromatic wardrobe and yoga pants. and my clean and simple pages a la Kathy Zielski within minimal product and mostly pattern paper for visual interest. Then, in many months, the pendulum swings back and I'm all into the popular products and trying out maxi skirts. Thanks for helping me recognize a pattern and make a connection. All right.
Yeah.
We're here to help you make your pendulum swing. Yes.
The premise of the show was really the question of whether or not your style in scrapbooking is related to your sense for clothing and house decorating. So, all right. Our sponsor is Big Picture Classes, and I can't tell you, I'm so excited to have somebody that I absolutely love and admire joined the ranks of teachers at Big Picture classes because they're a sponsor, and now I can highlight her class and talk about it. And if you're a PRT lover, you're also a Vilna Furstenberg lover. I'm just making that assumption.
Vilna Furstenberg has a class over at Big Picture now. That must have been that announcement that she couldn't share with us.
Yes, I know. I know, because 2P's closed down, and so she found somewhere else where she can share. So that's super exciting. Her new class is called Art and Design. So if you're not already over there checking it out, because I know a lot of you are opening up another tab now and checking it out. Vilna it started out as a neo-expressionist artist, and then she became a scrapbooker a long time ago. And the purpose of her class is to show how you can take the freedom of artistic expression and how well that works with what people often think of as the rules of solid design principles to create magical results. They really do go hand in hand, and they're meant to work together. And great artists, you can see those principles at work with really good artists. So she's gonna, she's a wonderful artist, and she's very artistic in the way that she scraps book, but she will also demonstrate some of the design principles and show how they all come into play and how it works together. I took one of her classes at 2Ps. I'm a massive fan of Vilna, so I definitely recommend this class. I'm so glad to be able to add her to the list of instructors at Big Picture classes. This class, there are 20 instructional videos. So they're short. They're like 10-minute videos. It's like 5 a week that you get. There's a lot. And I think there's an additional bonus one. It says there's a bonus one, but I just, I don't want to oversell it just in case that was part of the 20 that they're listed. So she's going to walk you through dozens of tips and tricks and techniques that you'll be dying to try yourself. She'll inspire you to jump in and give it a try and maybe get out of your comfort zone, do something new, make stuff. There will also be included, you'll get 23 silhouette cut files. She's an awesome designer, and you're going to get a bunch of her cut files too, and 6 printables and other downloads. Those by themselves are a $69 value. The class is much less than that. So there's so much more. I really recommend you just go check it out. Izzy, if they want to check it out and also see what else is being offered there, what should they do?
Here's what you do. You go to paperclipping.com/big picture. And there you'll find an affiliate link. Please click on that link before you go shop at their website, because that helps support the show. And it doesn't cost you any more. In fact, it could cost you less, because there is a coupon code there that you can use to get 10% off your purchase. And so once again, that's paperclipping.com/big picture. And we also put a link to that page in the show notes for every single episode. So if you just pull up the show notes for this episode, you'll find it there too. Again, paperclipping.com/big picture. And I have to say, Noelle, I think it's funny that you just said, there's 20 videos, and they're short videos. Each one's like 10 minutes long. And I think that's hilarious, because on the web these days, a 10-minute video is
long.
Very long, right?
In scrapbooking, it is not, though.
And no, that's the thing. In scrapbooking, it's actually, oh, wow, they must have really, boiled it down just to the nitty-gritty to be able to squeeze it into 10 minutes. And think about that. 20 videos at 10 minutes, that's 200 minutes. That's more than 3 hours, roughly, of video, That's awesome. How much does the class cost, did you say?
I think it's only like maybe $49.
Yeah, so plus all the extra bonus materials. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Everybody who's listening to this should go sign up for her class to help support her first course at Big Picture, don't you think?
Yeah,
Use our affiliate link if you do that, please.
Please do.
Yeah.
I think they will. She's going to get a big rush.
What? I'm a total Wilna fangirl. So
are you?
Yes, I agree.
Oh, she's one of my favorites. Yeah. Cool.
I'm a fanboy.
Okay, so I got 2 scrapbookers on who are world travelers. I'm blown away by you guys, how much you travel. I've been haunting your blogs. And I don't know what, I think at least with you, Jamie, you get to travel for your job. Is that right?
Yes, I work for a foreign government, actually. So I'm back in that country 2 or 3 times a year. And it puts me in Europe. So it's not a far distance to just hop on an additional plane to get to wherever I want to go, really.
Do you get to say what country you are working for?
So, sure. I work for the British government, actually.
Oh, okay. How
Yes.
exciting.
So our listeners can close their eyes and imagine what it's like to travel the world. That's what it's going to be like today.
I know. And then, Wendy, how is it that you get to travel all the time?
Well, in my past job, I worked as an international audit manager. So I was working for a software company and I lived overseas for a little bit. And I was traveling actually all over Europe and some to Russia as well. And so I was there for about 5 years. And so that was kind of my opportunity to see lots of the world on my bucket list. And
Oh.
just to have that opportunity through work travels. Now I travel mostly national with my job. I'm still an audit manager by day,
Mm-hmm.
and at night I'm a scrapbooker. So and the weekends. But for right now, I also do quite a bit of travel. I'm usually traveling maybe 3 weeks out of the month or so, but
Wow.
my travel is actually quite flexible in my scheduling and such to adjust, and I work from home quite a bit too. So that's kind of how it started out that I am able to see a lot of the world. And then my fiance actually is Italian, and he lives still in Europe, so he is in Salzburg, Austria. So I jet
Love
over
that
some to
place.
see him and back and forth and the immigration process right now for us. So we're very heavy and deep into that and bringing our two worlds together, and for him to live in the States. So it's a great joy to be able to see the world.
It's awesome. Cool.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I'm sure the audience has now figured out that we're going to talk about travel in some way, but I really wanted to narrow it down to a specific aspect of scrapbooking about travel, and it's something that I'm personally interested in. And I figure a lot of people have traveled for the summer and have come home or are coming home, and will want to scrapbook it. But I am always interested in how how a scrapbooker, not all scrapbookers do this, but how a scrapbooker might take inspiration from the location that they're at and use that to really capture the feel of the place that they've been to in the design of the page. Like I said, some people really don't do that and want to stick to the specific style that they scrapbook in, and then others will really, really try to emulate the look. And then others will find a nice happy medium where you kind of still maintain your style, but adjust it a bit to really reflect and capture the feel of the place that you visited. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how you can do that. And so I'm curious, like overall, and maybe I don't know how conscious the two of you are of doing this, but I was looking at your pages and I see it. I see it. So I'm wondering if you do that on purpose, or is it just something that you didn't realize was happening? Jamie, do you do that on purpose?
At times, I definitely do it on purpose. And after getting some of the notes last night, I was going back through some of my pages, and I didn't realize how often I was actually doing it, to be perfectly honest. So sometimes it is a conscious decision of picking either colors or adding distressing or doing some sort of technique to the page. It's conscious, but other times it's just kind of unconscious, and I'm kind of letting the photos dictate how the page goes in a way. And yeah, so I would say more often than not, it's probably conscious.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been doing it for a really long time and really didn't realize it until last night.
Did you find some pages that did it more than others, that reflected the place better than others? Or not better, but I don't mean better like as a judgment, but like just more, reflect it more?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is not necessarily like I think a lot of it is the feel and how I felt about the place as well. Adding that element into it. I think that, if I was really excited to be at a place, it kind of comes through in the design and the color choices that I make. And if I wasn't perhaps as excited, there might not even be a page about the country that I visited that I really just didn't even like having gone to.
There are countries, there are places you've been to that you didn't like, huh?
Yes.
We better not say what they are. We don't want to offend anybody from
No, I don't want to offend anyone.
Well, because, I know one of the pages I noticed was you were, okay, what is this place? Let me see. You're at some rocky coast.
That is Ireland. That's,
yes.
Yes, it's Ireland. It's called the Burren, and it's basically like it's not a desert because it's all rock, but it's just like a rocky crag on the side of the island. And for that particular design, used a lot of grays and browns to kind of mimic the rocks. And so I used a triangle stamp, not triangle, a diamond shaped stamp to add some texture with either different embossing powders, different inks, and kind of mimicked the line of that rock formation there.
Yeah, I thought that was such an unusual idea, and it was really cool. So, did you think? How did you even get the idea to do that? You've got this diamond stamp. How were you trying to? How did that come about?
Yeah, I think I was just going through a stack of Ireland photos, and I wanted to scrap something, and that one jumped out at me because I had a really great memory from that very specific time. And so I pulled the pictures, and I was knowing that I hadn't used my stamps in a while. So I decided to go looking through my stamps to see what I could use. And I saw those diamond shapes, and I thought, oh, that'd be really cool. And as I was stamping them, I kind of thought, wow, this kind of I don't know if I unconsciously gravitated toward the diamond because I thought it might represent well with the photos, but that's what I ended up having in my hands, and so I went to town on that, and it was really organic. I didn't really look at the pictures and think, you know what, I'm going to go find a diamond stamp and somehow replicate this, but it ended up working out well. I think I really liked that page.
Yeah. So for those who the audience isn't seeing the page like I am, like you use different shades of grays and blacks and things to layer these diamonds in a really organic way, and then it sort of trails to the side. The last diamond, as you go to the left of the page, suddenly is sideways instead of up and down, and it completely mimics the way that the rock island is trailing that way too. Like when you chose to do that sideways, was that because you were trying to mimic it, or was it just, I think I want to go sideways now?
At that point, I realized, hey, this does look like the rocks, and so yes, that very last one was a nod to the rock formation. I think at that point I'd figured out, yeah, this looks way too similar for me to not at least attempt it.
So, Wendy, what about you? Like, to what extent do you try to capture, like, to consciously try to capture the place that you've traveled to when you're scrapbooking it?
Right. Well, for me, a lot of times it's usually in the form of mini books. And so I do a lot of mini albums just for me, basically, my work schedule. And so for me to be able to put something together in a mini form is sometimes maybe a little crazy, but I feel more of a sense of accomplishment if I can put that together in that manner instead of a layout. Although I do have a few layouts of travels, but most of my travels are documented in mini books and 6x8 pocket journals. So I look a little bit more at the textures and just remembering a lot of the emotion that I felt when I was in that city. Also, a lot of times it's just quotes and billboards, sometimes just inspire me to bring about different colors and to relive that experience from when I was there. So I try to when I sit down to start a new project, I actually take my photographs, obviously, but then I'm also looking through my stash of papers and embellishments, and I have way too many stamps. I won't even tell you how many. Um, so I go through really all of my stamps and I see which ones really speak to me for that feeling that I want to bring about in that project. So I'm going through my stamps and I'm looking through also fabrics and designs, colors. Sometimes I'll use Pinterest, but a lot of times I'm jotting things down in my sketchbook. And so shapes, colors really are my pivot to starting a project. And then I'll take my pictures and print those out. And so then I can then start feeling the emotion for what I want to put together. And then that's when it just kind of really starts building for me. Strangely for me too, I cannot create sometimes during the daytime. I don't know why. I'm more of a night owl. So for me, I am sometimes up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm home or the weekends. And for some reason, that's when my mojo is just really flying and I can really be creative. But for some weird reason, I cannot create during the day. It's I can get my thoughts together, but I really create better at night. So, but again, it's just like building on the feelings for me of that city or that country and putting it together in that way.
Yeah, like I'm looking at your New York. You have a New York mini book that goes
Yes.
in. I think it's a tin. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like a tin. And there's so many great textures. Like you were saying, you look for texture, and there's one that I'm thinking you use some sort of letters to. It says like Times Square and what Coney Island and different things like that, and then you've colored like golds and browns and things over that. What is that? I mean, what did you?
Actually,
what are those?
yes, that was actually a project I created when I was on the Frog Dog Studio design team with Tina Walker, and actually, it's using tin wet metal foil and India ink and embossing templates. So you use your Sizzix embossing or Big Shot is what I used, and so I rolled it through with the embossing template, and so it gives more of an engraved look to the tin, and then you just stick it down, and actually that is plumber's tape that is used on the or electrical tape that's used on the cover. It's not really a tin foil, but it gives that look, but it's already sticky. You can get it at Home Depot or one of those home improvement stores. You can get it, and it comes in a roll, and it's perfect to emboss with, actually, and it gives that tin effect. But then you can use India ink, which you can get at Hobby Lobby or so, and you burnish it on there with just a rag, wipe it off, and you get this aged, distressed look. And I was really inspired, of course, New York topography, you see a lot of that, graffiti, and so that was kind of the look that I was going for when I made the cover for that book.
It looks really cool. So that embossing plate, was that, or folder, whatever you want to call it, did it already have those words on there?
Yes,
okay.
It's actually an embossing plate, I believe, by Tim Holtz, his Alterations line. So yes.
Yeah, it looks like you used a lot of his papers and things too for that project.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It was in the kit. It was a monthly kit, I believe, from Frog Dog Studio, and she had some papers in there. And then I also pulled some additional ones from, I think it's a specific paper pad by Tim Holtz that's traveled or destination theme, and it had lots of the same. So the papers actually mimicked that same exact embossing plate in a sense, and so I used that to bring it all together cohesively in the project. Yes.
So it sounds like your kind of process when you're wanting to scrapbook about a place and capture the memory and the feel is similar to mine, where like I'll pull out my pictures and look and think about what it is that I'm scrapbooking here, but then I'll go through my papers and my different products and think, wait, what am I feeling? Like it just kind of pops out when it feels like the place, it pops. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about then.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
I've got you. I understand completely.
So I know
I'm right there with you.
And that's probably, it's interesting to me with you, Jamie, with the diamond, that was what popped out to you, but you knew you wanted to do something with stamping, you said.
Yeah. And it's funny too, I am a fiend for travel products. I love travel products. They're my favorite scrapbooking items. And so I buy a ton of them, and looking back at my pages last night made me realize you really don't use them very much. Because I am focused more so on finding the tone and the emotion of the photos, as opposed to this is a travel page, which is a wonderful thing. But it just kind of made me realize you bought a lot of travel supplies over the years, and you don't use them as much as you should.
What is a travel product? Like, what's an example of what that is? Like, how's it?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's like, map paper or
compasses.
Compasses, yeah, exactly.
Kampai. I think it's kampai. The plural. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Or stamps or stickers that say travel.
Yeah, go see do, airplanes, geotags. I use a lot of geotags, and I don't just use those with travel pages, but things like that, things that have little suitcases and fun little phrases. I use some of it, but for the most part, I don't use them as much in travel pages.
That's interesting. I wonder if that's a surprise to everybody, because it seems like the folks that would use it would be the folks that are actually traveling a lot.
Right. That's probably why you buy them, Jamie, right? You're like, oh, I'm a traveler. That's
exactly
what I do. But I I totally agree, though, because I feel like a lot of those products are for the plane ride, like to represent the plane ride. And I'm not really very often interested in scrapbooking that part of my traveling. You know, I really want to get the place.
That's because you're so drugged up.
Well, okay.
On the plane.
I should explain that I have to take Dramamine, or I get, feel unwell, but it also makes me a little loopy, and I tend to think strangers at the airport are people I know.
Yeah, it seems like there'd be stories behind that, but
there's a couple, but
we'll leave it at that, Noelle. We won't ask you any more questions.
All right. But it makes sense because I'm like, right now I'm looking, Jamie, at your someday I will share those. Wendy, I'll share those stories someday. Maybe I have in the past. I don't know. But I should scrapbook them. Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm looking, Jamie, at your Bob Marley page, your Bali page, and you do have palm trees, like it looks like a die cut or maybe an electronic cut of palm trees, and all these wonderful colors that ray out like the sun, but they're colors that you would see a lot in the Bahamas. And to me, I totally get that probably your page without the airplanes and the travel, stuff feels much more like Bali, I'm sure, than I said the Bahamas. I mean Bali. That's funny. Than would be like a suitcase and an airplane.
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
Okay, so Wendy, do you want to share one of your pages that you feel like particularly captures the place that you went to?
Absolutely. I can tell you if I could share maybe like an album that I kind of was really inspired by. Well, I'm sure many have read the book Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. But I just really related a lot to that story because I myself personally had been through divorce, bad marriage, all of that, not to go too far deep into that. But but basically the story had a lot of parallels to my life in that I did travel a lot for work. I was very focused on my career, and just kind of it was just me, myself, and I for the longest time, and just to find that happiness again in seeing the world, and actually just to have that opportunity to travel, and thankfully through work, but there was a lot of work involved in what I do, but also to see the world as a side note on that, and so it brought me to find where I'm at now with the love of my life, with Vincenzo. And we met actually through friends of friends. And so now this kind of just brings this whole story together for me. And so what I did was I took the book, Eat, Pray, Love, and I developed it into actually a 6x8 pocket page album using a Simple Stories album. And I used specific quotes actually from that book and developed it into the pictures, and also it's kind of an older project that I did that was published in Scrapbook Trends a while back, but I used this to actually take a lot of the quotes from the book and implement them into my story. And it's probably one of my favorite projects that I did because, again, drawing on a lot of the textures of where my fiance is from in Italy, and then also just I used a lot of receipts and train tickets and all of that normally you might toss and throw away, but they're the perfect embellishment and accent to put into the pockets and just to tell your story. So I used that in a sense to really just bring it all together. And this is actually from 2012 when I made the book. But even now I keep it out and I look at it. I keep it on a coffee table and I look at it because it brings back so many memories. And kind of one of the benefits too, also telling your story in this way is that working through our immigration process now, we have to provide a lot of documentation to prove our love is real. And really, it's a long process, And so actually our immigration attorney, I showed her the book. And because she said, do you have photos of yourself together? Do you have receipts that show you have visited each other and blah, blah, blah. So I pull out this book and I show it to her. She goes, whoa, this is not normal. You know what I mean? Because normally, yeah, because, she doesn't know like a scrapbooker's life is, oh, we take lots of pictures and we write down things and we keep receipts and I will literally tell you that it has helped a lot in there was limited information more that was needed because I had kind of kept it all in one place. So this is another reason why it's one of my favorite projects. And it's actually quite a thick book. It's about 2 inches thick. By the time I added more protectors and pictures and all in it, but it really just tells the story of the love and the emotion and everything in it. So this is probably my favorite project that I have. But
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's something that everybody, I think Pocket Pages are in now in Project Life, and that's kind of the theme that was kind of rolling into this project too. But that's probably one of my favorite ones of how I put together my project.
What's that one called?
It's called Eat, Pray, Love, and I actually had
Okay.
to take it off of my blog. I haven't had a chance to put it back on yet because the time frame from when it was in Scrapbook Trends. So I can put it back on now. So I'm actually going to retake photos of some of my projects, the travel projects, and kind of make a special post on my blog to go with the podcast today. But I'm going to share it again just for anyone that may have missed it because it's one of my favorite projects to date, even though it's an older project.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Still
Cool.
brings lots of emotion.
Oh, nice.
Yes, absolutely.
What for you, Jamie, when you were looking through your pages and looking for ones that really go with this topic where you've captured that place, what's one that you found that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there was a couple from my Japan pages. I think the first one that I looked at and kind of realized that this really sets the tone of the page and all of that stuff. I have a photo of the Japanese metro system, just the map. And it's a funny story because I went to visit a friend whose husband was stationed in Japan, and they're about 2 hours away from where the airport was. So I had to take a train 2 hours across a foreign country where I don't speak the language to get to her. And it's one of those like make it or break it travel moments where you just kind of have to trust that people understand what you're saying and that they're directing you to the right place.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have this picture. I had the foresight to take it while I was on the train because I was just in my head praying that I would end up where I needed to end up and not end up halfway across another way into the country. And I ended up exactly where I needed to be. But the scrapbook page is really kind of it's very busy and chaotic, and it's not my usual style. There's a lot of stuff on the page, and it kind of just amplifies that situation to me as well, and how crazy it kind of was and uncertain and chaotic it ended up being, or it was during the time, but it ended up being fine. So that was one of the pages that I was looking at, and I was just like, yep, this kind of totally sparks the emotion of that, 2 hour train ride where I had no idea if I was going in the correct direction or not. And it's funny because the very next page in the book is like, that next morning, like I woke up in my friend's house and we had dinner, or excuse me, we had breakfast, and like the page is very calm and soothing, and it's just like a very marked difference between those two situations. And I think also too with Japan, I got to travel around a little bit, and we were in Tokyo, so we definitely made a beeline for the Harajuku district. And so for that page, I made sure to throw as much neon as I possibly could onto the page because I think there's no more appropriate place to put neon in your scrapbook than a page about Harajuku or the Harajuku district. So those are a few examples of how I took, the subject matter as well as the feeling and really amplified it with the colors that I chose and some of the design decisions that I made. I have another page that it's one of my favorite pages that I ever made. It was in a temple in Japan, and their temples are beautiful, and they're like outside. They're like half inside, half outside, but they're decorated with paper like paper cranes and paper banners, I would say. And so there's paper everywhere in these places. And I think that they probably um, have to redo them fairly often because they're half outside, half inside. But you know those paper chains where you make a like 1 inch strip and you make a circle out of it and then you slide another one through.
The links. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the links, exactly. And so they had some of those in this temple. And so I took all these pictures of it because I thought it was gorgeous. And I put it down on my page. And I was like, all right, I need to make a really simple design because I really want to showcase these photos. And then I was like, nope, not going to do that. When else am I going to be able to make a tiny paper chain to perfectly mirror what's in my photos. So I sat there and I made the world's tiniest paper chain using scraps of paper and a pencil to roll them around. And so, that was one example where I really went for it. What was in the photo ended up on my page just in miniature format.
Was that hard?
Yeah, it was hard to make sure that they would glue.
Uh-huh.
It took a couple different, I was trying to do it with like a roller adhesive, and I had to scratch that and go to a glue, an actual like tacky glue.
Uh-huh.
And that ended up working, but yeah, it did take a while.
I'm looking at that page right now, and it looks so cool. I've never seen that before. I didn't know they did that with all the paper, links and things like that. And I love, because when we do paper chain links, we kind of just drape them in this more boring way. Now, I mean, compared to what I'm seeing here, the way they're hanging and draping and clumped together. And you totally did capture that look with, you clustered also a bunch of like dimensional circles and those, what is it when you take fabric and you twist it into a circle and they're kind of layered? And then you've got your little tiny paper chains all draped through those. And that just looks really neat. And it does totally capture it. That's cool.
I was surprised. I thought your story, I didn't think you were actually going to say this, but there's a part of me that wondered if this is where you're going. You said they had, a lot of paper stuff everywhere. And I thought you might be like, and so they wouldn't really miss something. I'm glad the story didn't take that dark turn. Monasteries or whatever, temple.
Yeah.
I think that'd be generally frowned upon.
Yeah, I could see how it might be. Yeah.
Well, Wendy, I'm looking at your Italia mini book.
Italia.
You want to share a little bit about this? Because this is another great one where you've captured a feeling of a place.
Oh, yes. You're talking about the one seen and noted, Italia?
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. This one was created with using the new release from Paper House Productions, and they have almost an entire pad that's just on Italia or Italy. And so I utilized that in my project, and I used the cover, which is actually a Tim Holtz, the book binding, and I put some fabric tape to bind the actual cover because I didn't like those brads showing on the spine of it. And then I like to use a lot of mixed media, some in my projects too, just a touch of watercolor here and there. So that's kind of what I did, simple touches to jazz up some of the already patterned papers in the book. And then using also some embellishments. When I think of Italy, I also think of the faith with the Catholic Church, and so I had some wood crosses that I used on one of the pages where I took a picture of one of the churches, and then some frayed stickers that I used on some of the pages as well to tie in. And for me, kind of a little bit of a weakness for me is writing a whole page of journaling. That's just not me. So sometimes I will use either phrase stickers or my typewriter to just add in snippets of journaling here and there on my pages. So that's kind of what I went with in this particular book as well. And this was actually using some photos from Rome, and then also some photos from when I went to see my fiance in spring of 2012, kind of our first meeting, and after seeing each other for so long. And we went to the seaside, which was outside of Venice a little bit. And I took a lot of the photos from that trip, and then also some from Tuscany, which was from a previous trip. And I just kind of enveloped all of those together in one book called Italia. And then I like to also add a lot of dimension to my projects too. So I don't like to keep everything flat in my pages, even in a book, in a mini book. I like to add some dimension, so there's some depth and interest to what you're looking at. So that's also what I added in to a lot of this. And my fiance and I, to add another twist, we speak in Italian to each other. So I speak fluent Italian. So a lot of the phrases and sometimes our conversations, sometimes I'll add that into with the book. So it just kind of, I like the rustic look to the cover. And so I just kind of added that in with just a simple sticker on the cover to add some meaning to the couple. So you can see there on the cover is the emotion of the sticker was really speaking to me. So I'd use that simple sticker and then just kind of added more and more to it. And usually the mini books become thicker than I had planned,
That's always
but
my
that's
problem.
yeah, you just start adding more and more, So, but it actually turned out just the way I had somewhat envisioned it. So it was very emotional. And actually, I showed it to Vincenzo, and he actually cried when he looked at it. So,
Oh.
it kind of, not that I intended to make him cry, but but sometimes when you see some things with the way we scrapbook, it really does bring out the emotion, and that's always kind of what I look for in having someone look at my work is to see the emotion that I'm trying to capture there.
Yeah, I love that when the look of a page kind of makes me feel like it's taking me there, whether
Right.
that be like a place that I've traveled or just back to that moment, or that
Absolutely.
event.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
The sticker that you're talking about on the cover, is that the sculpture of
Yes. Yes.
is it like a man and a lady? I can't.
Yeah,
It's
it's a work of
tiny.
art, but it's actually from Paper House. I think it's one of their
Oh.
newer they had a whole new collection that came out. It may have been this summer or early spring. But they have some really beautiful papers that really are picturesque scenes of not just vino and all of that, but but they actually have pictures of countryside and Tuscany and all. So it just, and when I was speaking with Shayna at Paper House, I was like, okay, you could send me about 5 sheets of that because probably one, I want to frame it, and then because the pictures are the papers are so beautiful, sometimes I didn't really want to use them. But yeah, I just love the way it all kind of ties in. The stickers are really kind of, they combine well with the papers and the themes.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
beautiful. It makes
absolutely.
me want to try to do some like a mini book like that for
Yes,
Arizona and try to capture this place that I live in, this beautiful
yeah.
exotic desert. Um, so
Go for it.
yeah, I should. It's one of those things though
Absolutely.
that I would start and never finish, like all of my other mini books, which
But
is why I
see,
stopped doing
but
that.
that's the great thing about mini books because you can sit down and say, I mean, I'm not a fast scrapbooker, but for me, sometimes if I start one, say on a Friday, and I can have it done by Sunday evening, maybe if I just am dedicated to that one project. So something small to me, if I take it, then I can just say, okay, I've completed it and it's done. So
Yeah.
yeah,
How's a
so
mini book different from just a short album or small album? How's that
it's
different? Like,
really
what's the
sometimes about the
concept?
same,
Hmm.
actually. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I guess it just, I call them mini books, but actually they're really not mini because, like I said, I add way too many pages in them. But I guess, like I do like the Simple Stories 6x8 albums and also the handbooks by Studio Calico. I love those. That size really works. So those are like a 6x8 size. So to me, I kind of see that as a mini version of, say, versus a 12x12
Yeah.
album.
Do
So
the pages come in? I mean, does it open up with binder rings and you can take pages out and put the
yeah,
other ones in?
actually, that's my preferred method is the kind that I use now. The Tim Holtz one that I use for the Italia mini book that Noel is referring to. Actually, the insert, which is the clipping, it comes. You buy that separate than the covers, but you can put it together, or you can take where the brads would go for the binder clips, and you can add thread or twine or fabric strips, whatever your choice on that.
Velcro?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, you could do that. And so, but actually, the 6x8 albums, yes, they have either, some of them have maybe 4 binder rings, and this particular one that I use for the Eat, Pray, Love one has 2. But I do like the handbooks by Studio Calico because they have about 4, so you have a really your pages are really secured in there, and they're not going to tear apart. So you can add more pages in.
So Jamie, one of the reasons I was excited to have you on for this topic. Well, number one is on your sidebar on the left, you've got like, you specifically say Europe, Asia, England or whatever it says. And so you can see right when you go to your blog where the travel pages are specifically, and you can check them out. And I found it fascinating. I loved that going from the pages in, you call it, let's see. I just want to, London is what I said. Going from the pages in London to then going to the pages in Asia, I mean, they look so different. The London pictures or the London pages look a lot more like London in terms of the colors and the more formal style and things. And then you go to Asia and you get this massive mix of different colors depending on where you were. And you've got, like you said, that neon one. And you can see those bright colors in the background of a couple of the pictures. And then, these different sometimes. Anyway, do you ever feel like, do you battle with compromising style, your signature style with how to capture the place that you're visiting, or is that not an issue for you? Like, tell me about that. How is that for you?
Yeah, I would say it's not as much an issue. My style is generally more based on color. And so for me, color is the dominating thing through all my designs. And so it's really nice to hear that you can tell the difference between the London pages and the Asia pages.
Oh, totally.
It's really about, what was going on in the city. I guess the city versus the nature. And when I think of Europe, I think a lot more of architecture and history and, more formal situations. And when I think of Asia, I think more of nature and, more developing countries and water, nature. Nature is kind of the underlying thing I think of when I think of Asia. And so, I let the colors in my photos kind of dictate how I'm going to represent them on the page. And it's not necessarily that I'm color matching things from my photos, which sometimes I do. But it's making sure that I'm using colors that complement whatever's in the photos. I do chuck all that out the window and, make a paper chain because there was a paper chain in my photo. So it's not a hard and steady rule, but I think that the architecture of Europe really does lend itself to some of the pages that I make. And I guess it depends on if there's architecture prominent in my photos. I might do something a bit more linear.
Well, like for example, too, I'm looking at this one page. I don't know how you say this. It's in Japan. Kamakura. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's Kamakura was a city, and I did a play on that for.
Fun. Okay, so you used a doily, and I know as a scrapbooker that doilies have been really hot for the last so many years, right? So that you don't look at a doily.
Doilies
and go,
are so hot right now.
I know. You don't look at a doily and go, "Oh, this looks Japanese," because it doesn't. But your overall layout still does to me. Like, it looks very Japanese to me because of the other elements. So I think it goes to show that you can take current trends that you're really enjoying and interested in and current things you do and mix them with other elements that even they're subtle. Like, none of these things on here like are screaming, "Hey, we're Japanese." They're not like that. But between the pictures and those other elements that hint at the Japanese culture, it still feels Japanese, even though there's a doily in there, which I mean, I've never been to Japan, but I don't think of doilies as being Japanese, but it works, So I think it's an interesting mix of style. There's another example too, where you used banners. And banners, we all know, have been really like all over every page for a long time. But the way that you used them with this particular layout, it's called Shibuya, maybe Shibuya Crossing, Tokyo.
I used banners on that one, and I threw a bunch in a very condensed amount of space because of the frenetic craziness that is Shibuya Crossing.
Yeah,
It's
it
one of
looks like the city that I see behind you in that picture.
Yeah, it's like I think there's like 6 or 7 roads that come at this point. And so you can't, it's like basically all cars have to halt before anyone can go in any of the crosswalks. And I mean, there's so many crosswalks right there at that point. So yeah, it's really frenetic. There's tons of people walking around. Um, and so for that particular page, yeah, I used a bunch of them in the very small area just to kind of mimic that kind of manic few seconds.
And it looks great. And like, I feel like I can see your main photo, and it just, that whole feel of it carries over in that area with your title and the banners. And you know, you did banners with this eclectic mix of small patterns that look like the city behind you, all the advertising and things up there on the signs behind you. And so even though I know, you know, the whole pendant banner is a scrapbooky trend, I love that you took it and made it look like that city.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. So Wendy, what about you? How do you make it work where you have a style that you love to scrapbook with, but then you've got this place, and maybe the place doesn't necessarily look like the style of your scrapbooking? I don't know, like, how do you make that work?
Well, I can say that usually, you know, sometimes by looking at product and working that into the photos that you have, you can draw a lot out of just looking at your photos prior to you even starting a project. And for me, my style is a little more eclectic, and I try to bring an element of surprise to what is maybe expected to be seen on the page. So, many times there might be product that I see that I want to add in. For one page that I did at the seaside, actually had vials of sand in them. So
Yeah.
I used those actually and attached those to my layout, where it was an element that I just was like, okay, how can I add the look of sand on my page, but without putting sand on my page? So I put those in little vials and kind of like wishes from the sea or letters from the sea or things like that. So kind of added those in to one of my layouts. And I can't remember which one it was exactly, but I think it was a recent one that I made not too long ago. It's on my blog. But yeah, I usually for me, it's I like the challenge of taking photos and actually product that I may normally not think of. Sometimes I'll buy new art product, different art mediums by Golden, and I'll say, how can I take this and make this work to different textures? And so I'll use those on my page and just play around with it. And you might be surprised. Usually the ideas that you play around with are the ones that come out looking better than what you had maybe intended to do. So yeah.
You do play a lot with texture and dimension too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's just and two for me, I love to draw even before scrapbooking came around. So everyone in my family can draw on some level. So
Oh.
I always loved illustration. Drawing people has always been kind of one of my favorite things to do. And so I tried to use that a lot into the design, and not necessarily drawing people, but just the focus of my art and to think out of the box in my scrapbooking. So I don't like everything to be kind of this is structured, as in it's kind of strange because in my day job as an auditor, I'm very structured and very detailed. But when I'm creating, it's a mess on my desk. But also I like a lot of details in my projects too. So I really take sometimes a little bit more time to create my layouts because I think about the details and the elements to draw interest to that project.
Yeah, they're all so beautiful.
Cool.
Were those vials that you're talking about, were they actual like little 3-dimensional vials that would make it so
Yes,
the page wouldn't?
actually, they're little mini glass vials. I think they were from they may have been from Seven Gypsies or Tim Holtz, one of those. But I just went to the sea. I went to the beach actually here and just put some white sand in them, and I have a whole bucket of sand at home actually. So I just went there and put some sand in the little vials and sealed them up with some adhesive and the little cork stopper so they wouldn't come undone, and glued them with some really heavy duty glue on my page, and I'm not all worried about archivally safe. I mean, I think out of the box and use different and cork and all of this stuff on my pages. So that's not a huge concern for me. I'm more involved with the artistic expression of showing my work. So
We've had
yeah.
Frank Garcia on a few times with
Yes,
Prima.
yes,
And
Frank, yes.
Yeah, he says it because he puts so much heavy stuff on his, he backs his pages with, I think, chipboard or something sturdy. Do you have to do something like that too on some of your heavier pages?
Actually, yes, sometimes I do, but also just priming your page with gesso sometimes gives a little bit more tooth, as I like to say, to the page, and makes it a little more sturdy than just using a paper. I mean, of course, it depends upon the different companies, the manufacturer, the paper that you get. The Prima papers are made to alter in a sense, so they're made to take paints and gesso and different mediums. But some of the thinner papers, like Paper House, sometimes I have to add maybe a paper backing to the back just to give it a little bit more stability. And you can get those, like just chipboard 12 by 12, you cut it down to chipboard. So yeah, sometimes I'll do that just to add a little bit more. Too, like when we send our projects in for CHA, Prima requires that we put our pages on some chipboard because a lot of the handling that is done of the pages and things don't fall off. And yes, so yes, it does give definitely more stability to the work.
I will need to, when we're at the booth, I will need to look for your pages. Are you going to be there at CHA?
I might be able to make the January show. I might. I don't know. Again, it all depends with this immigration stuff. But
yeah.
I would really like to. It's been a long time since I've been to a CHA. It's been probably 10, 12 years ago. But they were always so much fun. So I would definitely love to come to a January show.
Cool.
I would love to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to move on to the next topic. So I wanted to give you guys a chance to say anything else that maybe you didn't get a chance to say so far, or either tips or just thoughts on capturing the place that you traveled to, so that when you come home, you can kind of re-experience it in small little doses when you look through your scrapbooking pages. Jamie, do you have any final words or thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that one thing we haven't talked about, and it's kind of funny because this is a travel episode, ephemera.
Yeah.
I think if there's nothing that kind of can transport you back to a place aside from the pictures, is like seeing the map that you handled for a week on end, circled places here and there, ticket stubs and things like that. I think ephemera is always important in travel. As much as you can, collect little bits and pieces of things. I have a lot of ephemera. I have too much ephemera, actually. And I'm now going back to the process of kind of culling through it all and seeing, like, is this actually meaningful for me, or do I just like it because it has Amsterdam written on it? And so I think definitely just being mindful of all the little paper things that we come across. And also, too, journaling is not something we've talked about, but I got this amazing tip from Debbie Shue one time. And she had suggested, she had shared what her family does. And so basically their family will go to a store and they'll try to pick a postcard that so perfectly amplifies that day, or the specific place that they're at. And so they'll collectively write a postcard and mail it home. And so when they get home, they have, already a record of the trip and a piece of ephemera to boot. So that's something that I've started to do on my travels as well. It's fun to get the stamp and see the post dates and things like that. And I remember I mailed a postcard in Hong Kong, and you could actually pick the photo that was going to be stamped with the date onto your postcard, which is kind of cool.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think that those are two kind of tips that I have, is just gather ephemera and, send yourself a postcard just to help with the journaling and things, because there's nothing that can kind of make you more excited about being home from your trip that you just had an amazing time on, to like come home and check the mail and see something that you've sent yourself. That's always,
that's
so
cool.
it's fun.
That's fun. Oh, awesome. All right, Wendy, what about you?
Well, actually, I used a lot of ephemera in my Eat, Pray, Love book because I that's what obviously the put lots of receipts and things in there to show to the attorney, as also for the trips and maps and things. But also, I like the app, which is called Collect. It's an app that you can download in the iTunes store, App Store. And it's great to, if you're using your iPhone, to take lots of photos. I know a lot of times we snap photos, but are we actually using them and taking them off of our phone? And I'll share in my pick of the week, or the pick that I have, another little tool that I use as well. But I do love the Collect app because it allows me, I use my iPhone to take lots of pictures of food. And even when I'm traveling, my coworkers know that I'm going to take a picture of the food before I eat. And and so they're sometimes even staging the shot, they'll turn the plate around and say, "Oh, get mine," So I use that, and you can do quick little snippets of journaling in that app, and then you can actually print all of those photos, and then you already have your journaling directly on your photos. So it kind of eliminates a lot of the, oh, I have to remember this later, or I have to write that down later kind of thing. And then sometimes you can get it all down while it's still fresh on your mind. And so I loved using that app, and it's pretty cool. So it's called Collect.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So did you just share your pick?
No, I have another one.
She said she has another one, yeah.
Okay.
You see that?
I was like, well, you just seamlessly brought us into the picks of the week. So, okay, we're
call
not
that,
quite there yet.
We call what happened there a hidden pick.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Sometimes our guests are like, I have two things I want to do. Now they know how to sneak that second one in.
Yes, I just slid that one in there.
It was such a weird thing for me. All of a sudden, I felt like I got time warped into our pick of the week. And then anyway, all right. That's funny.
Good job. It's hard to throw this lady off, and you did it.
Wow.
Izzy, do you want to take your special moment, which I am now fond of calling this part of our episode?
This is Izzy's special moment. Oh, man. I think we should call it paperclipping special moment. But anyway, so...
You guys are way too adorable together. Really.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm turning red over the whole special moment thing, There's other things that happen around here that are sometimes called Izzy's special moment too. But anyway, moving on. So, okay, this is the part where we talk about paperclipping. What you're listening to right now is the Paperclipping Roundtable, which is the audio show that we produce for the community, and we give it away for free. But it's not the only thing. It's not the main thing that we do at Paperclipping. The main thing is the Paperclipping membership. And what happens, the way the membership works is that you pay a small fee up front. It gets you just one time up front. It gets you access for a whole 6 months to the video membership library. And there's a couple hundred videos in there. How many is it? It's like a couple hundred?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, it's, at an average, and they're not short videos that are only 10 minutes. They're some of them are, I guess, but it adds up. I don't know. It's sort of like getting a DVD collection that's 100 DVDs or something like that.
There's 246.
246. So it's probably the equivalent of maybe 100 DVDs in terms of duration. So it's a pretty good value when you pay a small fee up front to get access to that kind of content. And there's stuff in there about how to use up scrapbooking supplies. By the way, I did think of a way to use up your stash better. I thought of this during the show today when they were talking about taking photos out on the beach and stuff like that.
Okay.
You want to know? You want to know what it is?
Sure, yes.
Okay, so when you're out, this is off topic. This is one of my famous tangents, but it is my special moment, so I can do whatever I want. The way when you're out taking photos, you could be thinking in your mind as you're taking photos, what supplies do I have back that I need to use up? And then you intentionally take photos that are designed to go with the supplies you have back at the hideout.
So it's kind of like what you're saying. It's kind of like when scrapbookers get everybody dressed up so that the photos will match the papers they want to use. You're saying go take photos.
Go take photos that'll match the supplies.
Staging the shot.
Staging the shot.
There you go. Perfect.
So yeah, anyway, but you'll find tips that are actually better than that one in the membership library. That one was not that great of a tip, but I'm sorry about that. That's what happens when I speak and I don't have any experience with it. But there's stuff in there about using up your stash. There's design concepts, all kinds of design concepts. In fact, if you go through the membership library, it's kind of like your own design course. So if you really want to take your layouts to the next level and you want to get ideas for how to do that, then this is a good opportunity for you. So go check it out. You can learn more at paperclipping.com/membership. And I know, so there's, two groups of people that listen to the show. There's the folks that are members already, and there's the folks that aren't. And the ones that are members already are thinking, and they're going, Izzy's special moment is all about the membership. I'm already a member. But this is our chance to remind you how awesome you are. And thanks for being members. And it's also hopefully enticing the folks that aren't members to be able to go check it out too. So go learn more, paperclipping.com/membership. And we thank all the members for their support. All right, Noelle, I'm done with my special moment.
All right, let's do our picks of the week. Let's go. We'll start with Jamie. What's your pick, Jamie?
My pick is a fellow traveler's blog. So Geraldine Tsai is part of the Studio Calico design team and the Mama Elephant design team, I believe. And she travels a ton. And she takes the most gorgeous photos, and sometimes her blog posts are about the pages that she makes with those photos. Sometimes it's just the photos themselves, and they're beautiful and they're incredibly inspirational. And so my pick this week is Geraldine's blog, which is, I think it's inacreativebubble.blogspot.com. And coupled with that, she also has a shop where she sells printables. She's a really big designer for Studio Calico, and she does her own printables as well in her shop. And they have a lot of travel-themed ones. So I've used several of those in some of my pages. Not all of them, as we've already kind of discussed. I don't use as much travel product. But these I definitely used, and they're great and really versatile. So that is my pick.
I have to agree about Geraldine Tsai. Somebody recently pointed me to her, and she's super talented.
Yeah, she's great. I love her clean. She has a really clean design aesthetic. It's very clean lines and bright colors, and I love it.
Yeah. All right. And how about Wendy? What's your pick?
Mine would be it's kind of not too recent purchase that I have, which is the Canon Selfie, the newest version, which is the CP910. And I was a long time, not to plug anybody else's printers, but I used another brand. And this one kind of transformed me to the fact that it's wireless and that I can take it with me. It's portable. It's smaller than my other portable printer that I had. So this one is perfect for just throwing in your bag. And you can just print wirelessly from your iPhone, from your Android. It pairs up perfectly. The quality is much better than the previous Canon selfies, in my opinion. And so I use it a lot. And I have found that I use it way more to print off photos that were just sitting on my phone before. And now they're starting to be more in my books and my pages. So it is my definite pick of the week, or pick for all travelers.
It is super easy to use, isn't it? Crazy easy.
Yes, it is. It's very easy to use. And also it prints great quality if you are adding digitals to your photos. For some of the pink paisley, we have digitals that you can add to your photos and things like that, or some from Studio Calico that you can download, and you're thinking, I bought all these digitals, so how can I add them? So you can edit them in Photoshop or Elements, and then they print wonderful quality using that printer. So Canon's not paying me to plug, but I'm just definitely giving my props to them because it's a really great tool to have.
Awesome.
You know what? I just thought of something interesting about this printer, because we have the CP910 too. Really love it. The interesting thing is, I mean, I've never had a printer that did this before. I'm not a printer expert by any means, but it pulls the paper through and prints one color, and then it pushes it out, and then it prints another color on top of it, and then it keeps pulling the same paper through like four times.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yes.
And it would be interesting to stop it and use it when it only has like one or two of the colors on.
Oh yeah, just hit that cancel button. I wonder, but that probably, well, I don't know. You'd have to do it perfect timing for it to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to confuse the printer.
It might start jamming up on you. But I had one before, the previous version I had, but which was not the Canon, but it did it all at one time. It did all four colors at one time. Now the quality is supreme, but again, the rollers were kind of, I had to replace that printer quite a few times because it went through a lot of printing cycles. But I'm testing this Canon out to see how it does and holds up. But so far I like it.
Cool.
We got one, 2 years ago, and then we just got a new one to replace it?
Yeah,
like
the
that?
other one lasted maybe over a year, so it didn't last enormous amounts of time. But part of it.
But it's a fantastic printer.
It's only $100,
it's
less than that.
inexpensive. So if you think,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm just going to keep getting the same printer over and over again.
Yeah, when it didn't work, I was like, oh, it didn't last too super long. And then I was looking at a different one, and that one I think was, I want to say $300.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking.
Do you? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm like,
That's
okay,
the one.
if that one lasts 3 years only, which, you know, I would expect like a small kind of printer like that, then I'm like, well, so maybe, you know, this one's less than $100. It's not a big deal if it only lasts a year and a half or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So my pick of the week, I'm
what?
sure a lot of the scrapbookers have already seen this today.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
But I was going to bow out of. I cannot keep. I'm like, I don't buy that much product, so I can't keep up with the whole pick of the week. So this is a video that probably many of you have seen, but maybe not all of you have seen, and it's Ali Edwards' new promotional video for her new website.
Saw it today.
Did you?
Yes.
Isn't it good?
It's good.
You know, and I'm going to confess something. When she announced that she was redoing something, she stays in touch with a lot, or she connects with a lot of people that are outside of the scrapbook industry. And a part of me was like, is she branching kind of out of our industry? Like, what's she going to do? And that's just a small part of me. Like it was, and this video was all, I'm a scrapbooker.
She's doubling down.
I'm totally a scrapbooker. Like, yeah, she's like proud to be a scrapbooker. And I just, you know, in a time when we find our industry and community shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, it's so nice to see somebody who is well respected way outside of the scrapbooking community. She's respected by so many other people that's not part of our community. And it made me really happy to see her embracing herself, the scrapbooking hobby, you know?
And I like the new catchphrase. What is it? Something like craft the story or craft your story or something like that?
Craft your story.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that's kind of like paper clipping. It's design
No.
your story.
Hers is trademarked. Ours is just something we're doing. Yeah.
But we've had it a long time.
Yours is design your
isn't
story.
it design your story, right. Is it not at some point, because it's been out there public, is it not trademarked?
I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
I think that we've talked about
But
that.
I will say her video is fantastic. And I noticed in the credits it was made by Colin Karchner. Is that how you say his name?
Elizabeth Karchner's husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great video. Well done to all of them.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's your pick, Noelle?
That's my
Good
pick.
one. Thank goodness she sent out that email. Otherwise, you would have been pickless.
I know. I was going to be pickless. So go, Ali.
Ali.
It's a great
Save
video.
the show again.
And embrace the scrapbooker within you and wear it proudly. So, all right. Let's see. I have to say, both of our guests, both Wendy and Jamie, have fabulous blogs. You will love them. So go check out their blogs, and let's let them know where they can find you. We do have links to your blogs from the show notes, or we will. But Wendy, you want to tell them where they can find you?
Absolutely. Yes, you can find me over at Life Paper Soul, which is my blog. It's on WordPress. So if you go to lifepapersoul.wordpress.com, and also I'm on the design teams, as Noelle mentioned before, for Prima and also for Pink Paisley. And you will see me every 2 months or so on the Paper House Productions blog.
Nice. Cool. Anything coming up that they might want to know about?
Top secret things, nothing on the radar that I can think of at the moment. No, nothing right now that I can think of. There's always surprises that happen every now and then on the creative scene. So just stay tuned to my blog for any of those. I'm also big on Instagram as well. So you can find me there at Life Paper Soul, and then also Twitter. But all of my social media links you can find directly on my blog too.
Awesome. Okay. And Jamie, where can people find you?
Sure, you can find me at my blog. It is paperheartproject.blogspot.com. Paperheart Project, all one long word. And as you mentioned before, I'm part of the Scrapbook Circle creative team, so you can find me over there. I blog on their website 2 or 3 times a month. There's nothing really big coming up for us. I just got my new Scrapbook Circle kit, so I'm excited to tear into that this weekend. But yeah, I'm also on Instagram. Jamie Leija is my handle there. It's JamieLeija. And again, kudos to Noelle for saying it correctly.
Yay. Izzy, where can people find you?
People could find me at izzyvideo.com.
You can find me at paperclipping.com, and I actually have two big, exciting things coming up. I hardly ever am able to do this, so I was super excited to be able to do this time. What does she call it? I'm going to be doing Debbie Hodges' masterful scrapbook design thing for like October to September. It's and so I'm one of the sharers. I don't know what she calls them, instructors or guests or whatever, but I'm one of those people. and I love the topic. It's very interesting. Debbie is very out of the box with scrapbooking, and so it's something fresh and different. And so Izzy will put a link up for the show notes to that. And in addition to that, True Scrap is coming up, and there's going to be a little bit of a change to it so that it can be more affordable to more scrapbookers. So I'm super excited that a lot more of you are going to be able to go to that this year. And that's a big online fun event. So we'll also put a link to where you can get on the early bird email list before you become a late bird. You don't want to do that. So we'll put a link up so that you can get like the lowest price that will ever be offered for this year, and you know, all the fun stuff that she'll be sending out for the next little bit. That is it for today. Thank you, Wendy and Jamie, for being on the show. You did great, and it was the first time, and there were no kinks, so I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Noelle
you.
and Izzy. Thank you.
Thanks so
much. It was
much.
nice to meet you too, Jamie.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Wendy. Nice chatting with you.
You too.
All right, everybody, thank you, and we will see you all next time at the table.
Thanks.